and thank you all for coming to this press briefing today. I do want to take a moment and share our condolences with the Ken Evans family and friends. We did lose Ken Evans last night, and he will be sorely missed. He was a personal friend. He was an outstanding employee, and he will leave a lasting impression on this community. And so we do want to share about his passing and share our condolences. We do have Councilmember Fry that's also with us this morning at this press briefing, and we're going to jump right into it. So today I want to address an article that came out this past weekend in the Eagle. Understandably, has some residents concerned that Wichita is about to lose their water service at any minute. When I read that story last Sunday, I couldn't help but notice how well it was designed to draw readers in, and certainly to get them to click on the story. Unfortunately, the way the story was written offers little insight into the true state of our water system and the steps that we've taken over the past 8 years to make sure that our residents have water when they want it, when they need it, and when they turn on their faucet. With me today is Public Works Director Alan King. Alan was quoted in the Eagle story stating the state of our water treatment facility keeps him up at night. Have no doubt, maybe a little dramatic. Certainly it's an article headline that sells papers. But for me, when I read that quote personally, I'm glad that we have a Public Works Director that takes his job seriously and is worried about every single day making sure when people turn on the faucet, they're going to have water. We're doing that. We've done that. We will continue to do that by investing in our infrastructure. So I appreciate the openness and expertise that our staff have. They work hard day and night to make sure that our water is running. In fact, since 2011, when Alan first came to Wichita, Wichitans have not had a single water interruption. Not one single water interruption, nor have we ever had to ask our residents to boil water for their safety. There's been communities around us that have had to do that. We have not. We maintain our water service without interruption, and on top of that, we consistently rank in the top 50 largest cities as having one of the lowest water rates. In fact, right now, we're in the top 10 having the lowest water rates. So I know that there's no question as we move forward with a new facility, like many facilities in the U.S., our facility's old. We have an old facility that needs to be replaced. We recognize that. Certainly some of the comments on social media suggest that we should have continued to maintain the old facility and we wouldn't need a new one. That's simply not the case. We have continued to maintain the old facility, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but no facility lasts forever. You eventually have to replace them, and that's what we're in the process of doing right now. Our existing water treatment plant went through a massive renovation in the 90s, and the knowledge, dedication, and professionalism of staff has kept it running. We've been working on this process to replace our water treatment plant for approximately 2 years, but work on our water treatment facility has been vigorously occurring since 2011. And so I want to pause here for a second and share the timeline since 2011. And so if you will look at the screen, it carries us through different phases of investment, starting in 2011 when we were putting investments in our aquifer storage recharge. Major investment to ensure that we would have a water supply that would last us 50 years. What we know today is that's working. The aquifer that we pull water from is full. That's a good thing, not only for Wichitans, but for all of the communities around us, including the farmers that pull from that aquifer. In 2012, we had too many water main breaks. We were 23% higher than the benchmark. And so we took steps to ensure that we were going to replace that horizontal infrastructure. So in 2013, the city began replacing outdated water meters. In 2014, 40% of our future water projects are dated to regulatory compliance as well as water main replacement. In 2015, we had a renewal replacement rate water and sewer infrastructure that hit an all-time high of 8%. The benchmark is just 5%. 2016, we hired a consultant to do a complete system-wide review. In 2016, we did a complete system-wide review so we would know exactly where to put the investments that need to be made in our community. In 2017, the city increases their investment in the main water treatment plant because we know that we have to continue to supply clean, potable water. And that's when we submitted our first letter of interest for the WIFIA loan in 2017. So just a year and a half after I became mayor, we submitted our first WIFIA loan after we've done a complete assessment. In 2018, we invested in some more water mains. We significantly lowered our water main breaks, and so that they're now well under the benchmark of cities all around the country. We submitted our second WIFIA letter. In 2019, the city selected a design-build team to prepare a 30% design because we were accepted by WIFIA to proceed forward with receiving federal dollars. So the next steps the council will consider are phase 2 of the design-build team. We did hire an owner's rep to help us through this process. We intend to use WIFIA, a state revolving loan, and we will continue to have public engagements. So this is just a concept only of what that new treatment facility will look like. At this point, is designed to be placed on some ground that we own at 21st and Hoover. I think Councilmember Fry currently sits on a team that's meeting on a regular basis that's reviewing all of the steps that we'll be going through to get this new treatment facility up and going. And so we might have a chance to talk about that when we open it up for questions. At this point, I'm going to ask Alan King to come up and share some remarks about the state of our water treatment today and give you a little bit more background information on what the city's doing. So Alan, I'm going to turn the podium over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So originally constructed in 1939, expanded in 1957, with one major upgrade in 1992, the main water treatment plant is nearly 80 years old. Water treatment plants degrade. It's like your truck. Over time, they degrade and they degrade more quickly. Over the last 5 years, the city has invested more than $200 million in its entire water infrastructure to ensure that Wichitans have reliable water service. This looks like roof repairs to the main water treatment plant, chemical feed system improvements, investments in emergency power, main pipe replacements, and replacing old and failed valves and filters, among many other measures. Similarly, during the same time, we invested nearly $141 million in our sewer infrastructure to ensure that it discharges safely back into the rivers as clean as we took it out. This looks like increasing capacity at 4 Mile Creek Treatment Plant, the recent force main rebuild, replacement of sewer mains, pipes, and upgrades to multiple components in our sewer treatment plants. The age of the main water treatment plant has resulted in more frequent and more expensive repairs. Duplicate parts are on hand that ensure that if something breaks, we can fix it immediately. Staff have worked through emergency repairs And because of their expertise, Wichita has not experienced a single widespread water outage or violated a single permit. Wichita has not experienced even one boil order in the time that I've been here, and which is something you can commonly see in other communities. Unlike many communities nationwide, Wichita is better positioned because it has a plan in place to address aging infrastructure that is in poor condition. In 2011, the city began more heavily investing in our linear assets, the pipes that are under the ground. This is the water distribution mains and pipes that deliver the water once it's treated. At that time, the city was experiencing multiple main breaks, and so investing in these assets was obvious. Also during this time, the city was focused on drought resiliency. We were in the throes of a rather significant drought at the time, and to make sure that we had adequate water supply. This required investment in locations, source locations like Cheney Reservoir and the Equisbeds Aquifer. Then in 2016, the city hired a consultant to prepare an inventory of asset condition to better understand future investments, which ones should be made, where in the system should those investments be made. The city found out at that time that the investment into linear assets, the pipes, had paid off. And it was time to develop a long-term investment plan to improve the condition of the remaining water infrastructure, the vertical assets, the treatment plant, for example. A business case evaluation was conducted to compare the value of completely rehabilitating the existing water treatment plant or building a brand new water treatment plant, and it was determined that the new water treatment plant had a better long-term value, but and that would also represent a significant investment. That's a lot of dollars to build an entirely brand new treatment plant. In 2017, the city began researching financing opportunities to help fund this significant capital investment. The Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, or WIFIA, you've heard that term used, is a national program aimed at investments in the nation's water infrastructure. The WIFIA program offers loans at low fixed interest, and flexible financing terms, particularly when you have to start paying it back. It represents significant cost savings. Additionally, the state of Kansas has a state revolving loan fund which provides financial assistance to Kansas municipality in the form of low interest loans. City staff submitted a letter of interest in 2017 for WIFIA, but it was unsuccessful. We were not invited to apply. Following the denial, city staff debriefed the Environmental Protection Agency to find out what made our application strong and what made it weak. The EPA provided some really useful advice and guidance, and the city resubmitted a second letter of interest in July 2018 and subsequently received an invitation to apply for WIFIA from EPA on October 30th, 2018. To receive an invitation to apply means you've got the loan, now you just have to fill out the paperwork. We are currently on track to have the WIFIA application submitted by the deadline of October 30th, 2019. Without WIFIA financing, the project would be delayed 7 years in an attempt to avoid double-digit rate increases. We can build the treatment plant 7 years earlier by getting this special financing. The WIFIA and SRF loans not only allow us to complete the project sooner with lower rate increases, but it saves us an estimated $76 million over the traditional way that we would finance this project. That number does not even include the additional costs waiting those 7 years for inflation on materials and labor, or the additional investment that we'd have to make to keep our existing water treatment plant operating to make sure that there are, like we've had, no service interruptions. In 2018, the city initiated a procurement process to select partners for the new Northwest Water Treatment Facility. At the start of the process, the city was considering a traditional design, bid, build procurement process like we do on all projects up until that point. But through constantly refining the process And looking for different alternatives, a progressive design build procurement process was selected. And it looks like already it's underway, and it looks like we're already realizing some benefits from going to that approach. Earlier this year, the city entered into an agreement with the selected design bid team. Since that time, the team has worked closely with city staff to complete the 30% design and the application necessary to get the WIFIA funding. It is expected that the city design build team will determine a guaranteed maximum price and also be able to submit that application for the WIFIA. City staff will bring forward the WIFIA application for council consideration and approval in October, and at that time, council will also vote to initiate phase 2, which triggers the start of construction of the Northwest Water Treatment Facility, with official groundbreaking expected to occur in the fourth quarter of 2020. Large projects like this take time. This investment will provide water security for the community for generations to come, as well as an estimated $2 billion in economic stimulus, local economic stimulus. Still on the horizon is a $357 million biological nutrient reduction project, or BNR, anticipated to upgrade the components of our wastewater or sewer treatment plant. These upgrades will replace aging infrastructure and equipment, implement some of the latest technologies available, yielding energy savings and optimizing operations. The city has already begun researching financing opportunities to help us fund this significant capital investment, and could qualify for state and federal programs to provide cost savings similar to the way that we've approached the new water treatment plant. That's all I have, Matt.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan, and I appreciate that. I do want to cover a couple more things here and take this opportunity to share a little bit more about the water treatment facility. So we did divert from our regular bid process for this facility because the project cannot be business as usual. We've pushed a little bit differently. And when we needed the right team and the right price and the right funding, we believe we found it with a whole entire group of local vendors. And we believe the local vendors are the right mix of talent and ensuring that a $500 million plus project will be built by local families. To put it in a little bit different way, there are 935 families that make up all of the different partners that comprise the Wichita Water Partners, from MKEC, PEC, utility contractors, Donlinger, Wildcat, Burns and Mac, and a wide variety of very talented people that have been doing projects for the city of Wichita long, long before my time ever came here. And they'll be doing projects long after. Their commitment to helping us meet those WIFIA milestones saved the taxpayers an incredible amount of time and money. When we failed to get the WIFIA application through in 2017, we actually used a different team in 2017. And the second application, we switched to some of the people that make up this Wichita Water Partners, and they were successful at helping us get this application through. That's another plus. They were successful at getting this application through, and we used local partners to help us do that. The previous team was not a local group, and they didn't help us get that through. So we have faith that the Burns and Mac, GLMV, Schaefer Johnson, Cox and Fry, MKEC, PEC, Wildcat, utility contractors, and Donlinger will have the best interest of this community as we carry this project forward. They're communities, they're members of this community that know this community very well, and they know our water system very well. They've been working in that system for a very long time. This is not an easy or quick fix, not a quick undertake of a project of this magnitude, especially for any of us. It's not an election year gimmick that all of a sudden we're focusing on water. We've been focusing on water for a very long time. And I can tell you before, if you go back and look at the history, councils did not want to raise water rates. They were continually worried about the impact of raising water rates, which didn't allow them to invest in a system. So by law, we can't take general funds and shift it over to water and sewer infrastructure. It has to come from the funds generated in the water and sewer system. You're not going to commingle. Want to make sure that we take care of one other piece of misinformation. People mistakenly out there are sharing if we would have only passed the sales tax nearly 5 years ago, we would have had the money to pay for this. That's the furthest from the truth. That sales tax was targeting ASR only. It was committing $250 million to fill up the Equus beds. Today, the Equus beds are full. It would not have built us a new water treatment facility. So for people to think that if we would have only passed that sales tax, problem fixed, is the furthest from the truth. We could not have diverted that money over. It was intended to build the ASR project bigger than it existed, to make sure the Equus beds would fill up. Today, the Equus beds are full. We've taken a number of approaches to help do that. So at this point in time, we'll open it up for questions. We do have Councilmember Fry here that serves on the committee that is helping to oversee the new treatment facility, and Alan King that can answer any questions.
Hello, Mayor. On the firm that was selected, can you talk a little bit about the other water plant projects they've been involved with?
So we can get you a full list of all of their other water projects that they've been involved with, but they have been heavily involved with water and sewer infrastructure for a very long time, and happy to get you a full list if you would like to see what they have done in the past.
Right. And the
My question's for Mr. King. Is there a significant risk of the current water plant failing?
It depends on what you mean by failing. The comments that I made that were perhaps too colorful, describing the risk of failure, were the kinds of failures that we have been experiencing and continue to experience. But because of the actions that staff take, those failures do not translate into service interruption or outages or boil order. A failure is a system failing, and we have those. We expect to have those. I get notices of those happening, and we expect that they will continue to happen until we get the new water treatment plant. But right now, the way that we're operating, having professional, expert staff, we address those failures as they happen and make sure that that specific failure doesn't translate into a failure of the entire treatment plant.
I've got time for one more question.
Well, you said in the article, this is for Mr. King, you said in the article that it keeps you awake at night. Is that, I mean, do you step that back? Do you say that this, do you stand by that comment?
I mean, look at him. Do you think he gets any sleep?
So if, I'm not going to comment on that. But if it does fail, if it is a complete failure, I mean, that means no water, period, no running water in this city.
The thing that keeps me awake at night isn't necessarily a complete failure of the system. That could happen if we aren't able to address the specific failures that happen at the plant. So far, we have been able to. I get calls in the middle of the night and they say our chemical feed system is not working. And so we have to scramble and make sure that we identify the need, the problem, and fix it before it does translate into a widespread service interruption, a failure of the whole treatment plant. My comments were really more focused towards those individual failures that we have had and that we expect we will continue to have until we get the new water treatment plant online.
I hope people understand if the water treatment plant didn't have issues, we wouldn't be spending $500 million. The reason that we're prepared to spend $500 million is we need to address an aging water treatment facility. If the water treatment facility was in perfect working order, we would not be spending $500 million. So appreciate you coming. Glad that we could address some of these issues and hopefully help set the record straight a little bit. And I apologize for the briefness because I do have to get to another appointment. Thank you all.